is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 147. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... E, sitting here Thursday afternoon, beautiful Austin, Texas. Mixed emotions today because we are coming off the first home loss in a while. And I think the way that unfolded certainly caused some frustrations, at least for me. But then we got big news here this morning. So we'll talk about all that, but I'll ask you first, as I always do. How you feeling, my friend?
Like you said, there's a lot to be feeling right now, but I have made the executive decision to allow reason to prevail. And for
reason
logic,
will prevail.
Reason will prevail.
Did not know you had that queued up. Very good.
And I did not know you were going to say that.
We'll take it, man. That's called chemistry right there. Look, so yes, I have made the executive decision that logic needs to prevail here, and a calm kind of approach to what happened last night. Obviously a very frustrating game, but I went into my bank account and pulled out some of those points we got on the road and took a look at where we sit currently in the standing and the table. We haven't moved, and I am happy to cash some of those ugly road draws in today for a little bit more happiness, and understand that soccer is a cruel sport, a cruel game, and our great fortune was not bound to be something that we could bank on forever. And, the piper came to get its due, its pay last night. And we were on the unfortunate side of things, which is, is quite fine with me, given how many times that we were on the unfortunate side of things last season and how well this season has gone, and some fortunate draws and wins and stuff that we have gotten this season. So all that to say, I'm doing good.
Right. Well, we've certainly been the ones doling out some of the cruelty, and it definitely came back our way last night. We'll talk through all of that. Like I said, we got news to discuss. We have a match to preview about 48 hours until we turn around in the elevation against Real Salt Lake, still sitting in first place in the Western Conference, and maybe without our talisman midfielder. We'll, of course, have best keeper in the world, last business day, a little bit of the nonsense at the end. Before we jump into this afternoon's episode, just want to remind you all, if you have not yet, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us grow the show, as does subscribing to the YouTube channel if you are watching there. You can also hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And, of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up button there on YouTube. Like the video. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Shout out to our buddy Jesse, helping us battle the YouTube and the Q2 overlords, I think, with some of the favors he's done for us. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Before we jump into the news, shouted out our buddy Jesse there. Also wanted to shout out our buddy Joe Jack for the tickets last night. Another one of our friends that we have met in the North End there in section 1, 2, 3. And just awesome. Able to bring, some friends to the game last night, last minute, free of charge. We do owe Joe some beers, I think, but really cool.
Very cool. We can definitely accommodate the beers. I don't know if it'll ever be properly construed how much it means to us to be able to bring our friends and get them involved and, let them see us in all of our glory there. But yes, thank you so much, Joe Jack. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and shout out longtime North End favorite Stephen Mackey. Got to meet Mackey in person for the first time last night. Also saw Brian out there, Brian E., right? Not to be confused with the North End Pirate Brian. There's a lot of Brians. There's a lot of Logans, right? Yep. There's just, a lot of people in this Austin FC fan base that we are very fortunate to be friends with. So it was great to see all of our friends at Q2 last night. And that is another, I think, aspect of this experience, as we go, kind of week by week, that makes nights like last night, takes a little bit of that pain and frustration from the result on the field away, or at least eases it a little bit. Some other things that ease the pain. Congratulations, Brendan Hines Ike made team of the match day for his, I think, really just for scoring the goal on Saturday, because the rest of the game was not his best.
No.
And I was kind of surprised that the league, because they love to put the goal scorers out there so they can do their little Audi goals ad. Defender with a goal doesn't get on the pitch. He's on the bench. Come on, MLS. If you're going to put him out there, he's got to start.
I totally agree. But yeah, congrats to Brandon Hines for that. Yeah, you score a goal from back there, you can pretty much do whatever the hell else you want. And you're in good shape.
We also had a couple international call-ups confirmed. The club congratulating, I believe, both Danny Pereira on his call-up to the Venezuelan national team. Again, we expect to be missing him. I think there's 28 guys called up on that preliminary list for La Vinotinto. 26 will go to the Copa America. So again, expecting to miss Danny for an extended period of time, but also Leo Väisänen getting the call-up to his Finnish national team, which is good to see. Just some friendlies this coming week, so he's available on Saturday to play. Then he will take off across the pond for 2 friendlies there, and then we'll get him back. So congrats to Leo on that honor as he continues to get call-ups for the Finns.
I actually really like that for him, to get him some more minutes and stuff, to get get some more rust off. I actually really like that for him. Obviously, congratulations to both of those dudes. Danny, you will be sorely missed. Do not even consider getting injured.
Yeah. Don't even think about it. Also, 2 pieces of news for the season ticket holders. And I think some of this very strategically planned and plotted by the club. First, ticket price increases or season ticket renewals began. Those emails went out yesterday. Invoices in the season ticket holders' accounts. Overall, I think the sentiment that I've seen, nobody's out there, jumping for joy that their season tickets went up a little bit, but it seems like a little bit less of an intense kind of blowback from these price hikes. So ours, I think, were kind of what I expected. Never happy about it, but again, I think it does soften the blow that the team has been doing better than expected, and certainly better than last year to this point.
Yeah, it's always hard to pay more money for a diminished product which we were experiencing last year. So I'm going to open the checkbook every time it comes around, or at least you will, and then I'll pay you back in some various form, and then we'll go from there.
Just don't let Tony hear. Like, Tony, you scratch that. We're not going to pay no matter what, even though we will. Yeah. But take it easy. Take it easy on us. Come on. Well, the other thing, and again, this a little bit exciting, depending on how you feel about events like these, the season or meet the team season ticket holder event announced for late July. So I know that's something that I get more jazzed up for than you do. Still looking for the Stuver and the Driussi signatures on that first jersey that I have with 20 plus signatures or whatever it is now, and that's got to replace that Deontay Johnson behind me now, because Deontay no longer a Steeler. So if I can get those 2 signatures in July, I think it's finally time to put that jersey up there in a frame. And then the second event announced, which I'm kind of intrigued by. I don't know if anything's going to come out of this in terms of what we could actually get or be interested in, but an equipment sale event in the first week of August for season ticket members. What do you make of that? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. It's nobody knows what it is, but it's provocative. I'm definitely intrigued by it. I think that'd be super cool. I don't know what you could be able to grab, maybe practice, kit, or some balls, or a couple of studs off of cleats or something along those lines, and some Stuver mitts. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much or get people's hopes built up too high. But I'm into that, and I'm kind of interested to see. I think they're going to do auction style, silent auction, or you just be able to grab it off the website.
I don't know. And it says event too. So I feel like there's got to be an in-person aspect to it. Maybe it's just picking up the stuff that you purchase from them. But yeah, you got my attention. So
I'm cool with it.
more information on both of those events coming in the next few weeks from the club. So season ticket members can be on the lookout for that. And then the big news here this morning, as expected, but of course had no idea when it was going to come. Anthony Precourt tweeting out the famed green smoke. So, at the time he was like, well, it could be Dessler, but just with everything that's been going on, felt like it was going to be Bukari, not Bukari. So shocker that my guess on that last week was incorrect.
I like how you put a little too much flair on it.
I know. Well, and that's
little...
like I'm watching all the Serbian broadcasts or highlights, and different announcers are putting different accents on it, and I chose wrong, which happens.
Hey man, you might be able to get a commentating job with MLS now.
Yeah, really? Beer. So after the smoke, we do get a Fab Romano tweet. So again, now we've got Mozart Sport, we've got Bogert, we've got DiMarzio, and now we've got Fab Romano. So just everybody getting in on the Bukari train here. And then we do get the press release, I think a little bit after noon today, confirming the DiMarzio report that the contract is through the 2027 season. And we also learned that the club will hold an option for the 2028 season. So potentially 4.5 seasons of Usman Bukari here in Austin. And they did note in the press release, still working on that paperwork for his visa and all of that stuff that needs to get straight. But as Tom Bogert reiterated this morning to our other buddy, Tom Hollick, shout out to Tom, all the Toms there, saying, it's just such a good thing that this paperwork is getting underway now because, and Bogert confirmed that guys who are under contract and allowed to come into the country can start training with the team before that July 18th date when they can officially be, registered in a team for a match day. So, man, again, just running back through Bukari's, we know 25 goals, 20 assists in 78 appearances across all comps with Red Star. They won back-to-back Serbian league titles, back-to-back Serbian Cups. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists in the Champions League this last year in 6 matches, again, scoring against Man City, late equalizer against Young Boys out of the Swiss League. 10th fastest player in the Champions League competition this year. Everything we talked about on last week's midweek episode about Bukari just being reiterated here, and some other things confirmed: senior spot, of course, international spot, and designated player slot on the roster. So all of that is updated on our cap sheets and roster pages on the northendpodcast.com. And one last thing here, he will take the recently vacated number 7 kit here for Austin. So wearing number 7. So if you want to go fire up those custom jerseys here, number 7 for Bukari. Maybe we'll see somebody with a Rigoni tape over, Bukari on the back.
Leave the eye at the end. You'll be good.
There you go.
Oh man, I'm so excited for this dude, man. I just, how old is he again? 24? 25. Like, we get him now through 2027, right? You said there.
Yeah, control through 28.
Yeah. That is just something to be so excited about. We can watch him get even better, grow his game. Everything that I've been seeing about him has been positive, and how talented he is. Obviously, the speed aspect is something that probably separates him from most of the players in the entire world at this point. So I am absolutely thrilled about this getting done early, getting all the T's, I's dotted, crossed, get them all out of the way, get this dude in here. Let's get this thing rolling. And, another reason why I'm not overly bummed about last night.
Yeah. And, you would think that maybe Mikel Dessler news, green smoke coming in the next couple weeks as well. So we're on the lookout for that. We're on the lookout for any other new player rumors because, man, like I said last week, it's so early in the process here. We're not even into June until Saturday. I think there's more to come, not just these 2 guys at the summer window. Club record signing confirmed, right around $7 million transfer fee for Bukari. And I did want to read some stats out. Our buddy Kevin Morris doing a little bit of a dive a fun little deep dive into some of his stats in Ligue 1. Remember, Bukari went on loan with Nantes in the 21-22 season. Denis Bouanga was in Ligue 1 that year, so check this out. In that 21-22 season for Nantes, Bukari, 0.53 goal contributions per 90. Denis Bouanga that year, 0.55 goal contributions per 90. So if you want to lower the hype a little bit, the expected goal contributions per 90 were 0.48 for Bouanga, 0.37 for Bukari. But I believe Bukari is 4 years younger. Doing that at age 22 in Ligue 1 for any team, right, is pretty impressive.
I mean, dude, like that's the standard for like goal scorer in this league is Bouanga, and obviously having him coming in 4 years younger, just the mind starts to run. You just start to see plays in your head of this guy just streaking, scoring goals for us. You know, I'm so stoked. I also am on board with, you know, that I don't think Roto's done cooking. I think there's other stuff in the works. Dessler is getting lost in this, you know, this long process where we were tied to him for a very, very long time. And just even if we added a competent right back to this very thin roster right now, that would be a huge, huge signing for us. But to get somebody with Dessler, his background as well, I mean, it's still a great time to be an Austin FC fan, and I am still hyped. And I know we got jobs left to do here, games left to play before we get to that point, and I will be focused on those. But can't say that there's not a big part of me that isn't daydreaming a little bit here.
Yeah. Well, that is going to be a long road until July 18th, especially after some of the happenings and the uncertainty of last night's match. Last thing before we jump into the recap of the Portland match, All-Star voting is open. So the time has come. Every single day between now and when the voting closes, I think I saw something that said it might be June 10th, which is a very short, small window to vote for an All-Star game that's not until mid-July. So I'll double check on that. But the important thing is you can vote once a day. If you got multiple email addresses, you got wife, husband, kids, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. Have them vote every single day for Brad Stuver. It's time. We got Stuver in the All-Star game. Coming into last night, he was still first in post-shot XG in MLS and tied for first, 0.4 per 90 with Roman Salentano in post-shot XG per 90 at plus 0.4. So, again, you are going to see and hear a lot of Stuver All-Star propaganda from us on this podcast, on all of our social media channels. So just fair warning. And just another time imploring you, vote for Brad Stuver every single day.
Yep. I mean, and he deserves it. I would love to see, once all this goes through, if like we were able to see like how people outside of Austin really view him and what he brings to our team. Because I mean, we would not be sitting in the position that we are sitting in without Bradley Scott Stuver. And he just consistently plays fantastic. And he's just a great professional, great dude. I just don't know if he's getting the credit that he actually deserves on the broader landscape of this league.
Yeah, well, and whenever I get a chance to talk some crap, about Andrew Wiebe, about Matt Doyle, any of those national pundits, right? I do it. Credit to Andrew Wiebe. He put out his ballot today publicly. Stuver was in net. That to me is a good sign because it's the Austin fan base can do a lot, but you do need a little bit of that recognition elsewhere, I think to get in. So very good to see that this morning. Shout out to Andrew Wiebe for voting the right keeper in there. Yeah, look, wow. I can I can move. I can shift. The
reason will prevail.
Yeah, exactly. One more time before we jump into this one.
Reason will prevail.
Reason will prevail.
Jumping into last night, John Gallagher, the only player on the injury report coming in, he was inactive, and we did see some rotation in the starting group here. Stuver in net, still Hector and Biru at the fullback positions, but Leo Vysen getting the start over Julio Cascante next to Brandon Hines-Ike. Then you saw Alex Ring go to the bench, Johan Valencia in for him. So Danny Pereira pushed up next to Seba wearing the armband. And then you had Obi and Wolf on the wings. and Gyasi Zardes up top. I believe his first start since the opening match against Minnesota.
Yes.
I am correct. And something I just thought about as I was talking right there, we have the only time we have lost at home this season is when Gyasi Zardes starts at the 9. I don't things are correlated, but it is a fact, if I am not mistaken. Bench of Cleveland, Kolmanich, Cascante, Hedges, Ring, Finley, Rubio, and Baudry. What were your thoughts on the lineup there? More rotation than we've seen really throughout the season.
I mean, I'm on record when we were driving up to the game and doing our research before we get there to the stadium and, looking at these lineups and everything. And I said, I just didn't love it. And took a little flack from you and our buddy AG there for that. Yeah. But, I understood it. I just didn't love it. It's not our choice 11. I understand why we don't have our choice 11 out. We are thin right now. This is a condensed part of the schedule where you have to see rotation. It has to take place. You're asking a lot out of Hector. And that's just what it is right now. It's all hands on deck. No Johnny G really hurts. I said last episode that this might have been the worst time for him to get banged up, just given the fact that we are thin numbers wise right now. And I didn't love it. But again, I thought it was an 11 that was good enough to go out and get points versus this Portland team. But we didn't get the job done. And that's just how it goes sometimes. And I just thought that there was nothing else to do. You can't get overly creative with this roster in regard to where you're putting guys or in the quality that you're going to get out of them. So G at the 9, we understand where he's at in his career right now, what he's actually able to bring to the table. I thought he's performed admirably throughout the season. It hasn't translated to any sort of wild statistical success, but still, I look to this team as a team with veterans, guys who understand their jobs, understand their roles. And for the most part, I thought we accomplished that small battle within the larger battle of an entire game. And it just didn't translate to any points for us. So, it is what it is. And we're going to keep seeing rotation here as we get into the dog days of summer. And these games keep rolling up on us. And you have the inevitable hamstrings, you have the inevitable groins, the ankles, whatever pops up for you. So, I still think, like I said, I'll just say it one more time. I thought this team was good enough. Our 11 was good enough to get the job done.
I agree. I think we definitely agreed on that part coming in last night. And again, we're about 48 hours away from the RSL match. So try to keep this a little condensed.
Yeah.
For everybody trying to get through not just this, but all of the other wonderful Austin FC content that comes out, pretty much every day of the week. You got something. If you want it, you can find it. 5th minute here. As we were coming in kind of a few minutes late after the match started, because man, that traffic coming from the south was horrendous last night. So we ended up shelling out to park at the gas station next to the north end there. So shout out to our boys at the Sunoco. Hector, though, here, 5th minute, gets upended on a challenge on that far sideline, down for a few minutes, ends up being fine. Looked like he got a little wrap on his wrist after that. But, that causes the power play. So off for 2 minutes. Austin ends up getting out of that, which was nice. Because, again, I think that was our first experience with that going against us, if I recall correctly, certainly at home. So a little bit nervy at the start. But, again, Portland just was not threatening, even in this moment. And that continues for the majority of this match.
Yep. And I mean, it's really on display in this first half. And if you are looking at any sort of the FOTMob figures or wherever you're getting your statistical information from, you see momentum charts and the trackers that take into account where the ball's in play, the types of chances that are being created. This Portland team did absolutely nothing in the first half outside of have a fantastic strike by one of the best players in the league. And, it was, I know we're going to break it down more, but it was just a half that we dominated and controlled, and we just didn't score.
Yep. 10th minute here. Austin progressing into the offensive third, and as Driussi kind of makes a run up the middle and in behind that back line, Valencia's got the ball probably, 10, 12 yards outside the box. And I thought watching it live, because the ball ends up going, halfway up 122 to our.
Yeah.
I thought watching it live, he was in between trying to kind of loft that ball over the top to Seba, who was getting in behind. and then like just ripping a shot and ends up being indecisive. And so like the shot like lofts, but he put shot type of power on it. I'm looking at the shot map on FOTMOB here, and just like the target next to the goal where the ball ended up, just silently giggling to myself, just because, I mean, we've seen Johan put the ball into the upper deck more often than on target when he shoots from out there.
That's 100% correct. And this is just right here. Like when I said I didn't love the lineup, you know, I love Johan. I love what he brings to the table and to this team in regard to how physical he is, how tough he is. But usually that's Alex Ring, who is leading the team in assists right now, or at least tied for first.
Yeah.
And it's probably a better ball coming off Alex's foot for an early attempt. And, you know, that's just what it's going to have to be. We're going to have to get to this summer window where we can get these reinforcements here. We're going to need guys to potentially step up. And unfortunately, this is just not a part of Johan's game that you should be excited about.
13th minute. Austin just really on the front foot now, but no clear-cut chances as of yet. Seba finds himself on the ball, approaching the penalty box, kind of center left of net, tries to split a trio of Timbers, goes down. Head official Victor Rivas, who after the rewatch, I was thinking about even more in a negative light. So we'll talk about that as we go, but he considers it, gives the pen after a couple of seconds. I didn't watch the replay in the stadium because it looked like he went down easy. On the replay, it's clear. Diego Chara steps on his boot. He goes down, but then the penalty, obviously much was made about Seba missing that penalty against Sporting KC a couple games back because it was his first miss in MLS play. This penalty is flat out bad. My read in the moment, and I don't have a different opinion after watching it back, he struck it with little to no confidence, and it's like he tried to pass it into the net instead of shooting it. I know he's placed penalties in that same area before, but to my recollection, it has always been with more velocity and a little bit more decisiveness when he comes up to actually take that strike. The Pantomis just goes down to his left, scoops it up fairly easily. It did, like, I saw people throwing the Y word around. I don't think that's the case, but I do think he was in his own head, Yips. I do think he was, sorry, for those not watching on the YouTube, he was confused. I just don't think it's fair to say he has the yips after just one. Like, it just looked like he was lacking confidence in the moment. And you really don't like to see that because, well, especially because the further context that's provided the rest of the half, it did seem to me like he let it get to him.
Oh, he let it get to him. And it really set the tone for his performance in particular. He was very frustrated after he misses this PK. G tries to come up to him and tries to get him, pull him like, hey, brother, it's over. We got to move on. Yeah. And, he expresses his frustrations. He shows his emotions. And, it was in his head. He was in his head a little bit, and that shit happens. He's a human being, and like, you miss your first ever PK here in MLS in regular season play. I know you like to add that little footnote every time, but he was in his own head, and he did not have the confidence that he needed to strike through that ball and put it behind the keeper, and it set the tone for this match. I think I turned to you, and I was just like, well, it's going to be one of those nights, huh?
Yeah,
and
here it comes.
It definitely turned out to be one of those nights. But again, 10, I'll take you up there with my life on the line all the time, brother. 1,000 times out of 1,000. We just got to move past this one, and just a situation where, again, if he comes up there and just has the right mindset, he's making it. And
would think so.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, man. I would be legitimately upset if they went away from Driussi on the next penalty attempt.
That would be devastating. I would not want that at all. Hader was holding the ball for a little bit, and I was getting a little confused.
I think he was trying to keep it away from the Portland guys.
Okay. I just was a bit confused there. Yeah. But yes, I do not. There's no reason to think that the sky is falling here with Seba. You can't approach it like that. It was a bad strike. He has to move past it. He didn't move past it in the best way, but still, you see the chances that he gets later on in this game as well. And he was right there. Just wasn't our night.
he could have had 3 goals here in the first half. 19th
Absolutely.
minute, Austin back off on a break here. Good pass from Seba to Giassi, and G kind of pirouettes around, pokes it out to Owen Wolf before going down himself. Owen's got space to cross it into the backside for Obi near that right post. Obi gives it away, but then Kamal Miller kind of fucks around at the back, turns it right back over to Obi. He gets it to Danny. Danny whips it to Driussi at the top of the box, and he one-times it right towards that left post. This is a goal. If our Araujo isn't standing there to deflect it out. And you can see on the replay from the opposite end, Brandon Hines-Ike throws his hands up like it's a goal because it was going to be. But, some fortunate, I think, defensive positioning there. And it's preparation, right, with some fortunate luck in terms of that positioning where the ball came. Portland kind of gave us a dose of our own medicine last night. We have done this to opposing teams multiple times this year to varying degrees of success. And we've talked about how, man, I can't imagine how frustrated those San Jose fans are. Man, I can't imagine how frustrated those, Houston fans are, whatever. It was our turn last night.
Yep, absolutely. And it was 100% a goal that was going in. You pull up the stats, you look at these deflections, blocks, Portland in front of us on all of those 31 clearances.
Yep.
So you really start to see and understand that this is the approach a lot of teams in this league are going to take when they're on the road, and good fortune went their way with our missed PK and gave them some life, and you kept the door open. And then you have this situation where the door is kept even more ajar because you should have been on the board twice. And, it was their game plan. They executed it, and we have executed it in the past. And, congrats to them.
Yeah, we'll jump to the 44th minute here where Danny Pereira goes down in the box, felt some contact on his back from Anthony. Went down pretty easy there, nothing doing. Danny himself didn't really complain after the fact. But Austin ends up staying in possession after that. They've got it at the back. Ball finds Owen Wolf on the left side near the half line. He takes 2 touches around some Portland defenders towards the middle of the park and plays a lovely ball into Danny, who's in between the 2 Portland center backs. And he's got friends on either side of him. Giassi to the left, Obi on the right. Danny takes a touch to his left and uncorks a shot that's ultimately blocked, I believe, by Zuparic. I thought it was a bit of the, maybe regression is a strong term, but I think it's going back to what we've seen more often than not from Danny in situations like this, when he's in that more advanced position. Again, it was certainly a step back from the performance we saw from Danny in this more advanced position against SKC. Like we speculated after that game, that was the current ceiling and not the norm. So we're going to continue to see Danny up in this area. But again, I hope it's more towards the Sporting KC match rather than last night, because that final third decision-making still just needs some work.
Yep, just a little hesitant. And it's just, his natural instincts are on the defensive side of the ball. He doesn't hesitate to dispossess somebody. He gets a little tight when he's in that zone, and took a little too long. You do that in this league, it's a death penalty, really. You're not going to get away with it more often than not.
First minute of stoppage here. Portland's got a throw on that far sideline from the broadcast camera, the east side of the stadium. Austin steps in front of it, and Jassy Zardes runs onto that loose ball. Plenty of space to cross the ball towards kind of both Driussi and Wolf, who are crashing the net here. Gets deflected by one, then 2 Portland defenders, and it just goes right to the feet of Driussi, 6 yards out, 7 yards out. And if he taps this left or right, it goes in. And the party is on, but he puts it right into the chest of Pantemis. And then that ball gets cleared out to Dairon Asprilla, and the counter is on. He finds Evander, and he goes down easy. I think, like, if there's any sort of review process on fouls, I would think this gets called back. But it could also be that Johann's reputation precedes him a little bit here. So we're like 25 yards out from net. Evander lines up over it. And I just want to ask you, what did I say to you as he's kind of eyeballing this one.
Oh, he's shooting this.
Yeah, there's no way. If you watch Evander, and he's one of the guys I enjoy watching the most when I'm not watching Austin FC in some MLS action. I fucking love that guy. Again, like I said the other on Sunday's episode, he's extremely fun to watch unless he's doing it to your team, and he fucking did it to us here. That might be the nicest goal ever scored at Q2 Stadium. It is certainly up there.
It was incredible, and nothing Stuber.
And the angle we had for it too, dude. Yeah, oh my god!
It looked like, I mean, the curve on that ball, everything about it was just incredibly precise. Let's jump back to the Seba chance. Again, just, a moment where you'll take it 100 times out of 100, and he just puts it in the wrong spot. This is even in a save. Yeah. How do you say this guy's last name? I kept saying it wrong. Pantemis. Wasn't even a save by him.
Panty-miss last night.
Wasn't even a save by him. He just happens upon it and gets very fortunate. And then this was an absolute backbreaker and just kind of solidified, damn, it's really not going to be our night tonight. 10 really in his head at this point in time. Frustration, emotion kind of bubbling over with how I saw him on the rewatch. And, I'd be frustrated too. Shit, man. I've lost my cool plenty of times in the heat of the battle and everything. And their best player made a big play, and ours missed 3 chances. That's a bad recipe for success.
Yeah, absolutely. So into the half, 1-0 Portland. And I don't know, man. It was like the reverse. Obviously not the same scoreline, but the feeling was just the opposite of that San Jose first half on Saturday, where we're down. We could have given up 2, 3, maybe 4 goals to the Quakes in that first half. We steal a goal at the end, and the vibes are just completely different at the half from what they were just moments earlier coming out of the half. And this is where, and there's a specific moment that I saw on the rewatch where I think Victor Rivas kind of let things get away from him, his emotions get away from him. But the yellow card party fucking starts right here. 47th minute, yellow card to Jesse Zardes. And I think it's deserved because foul was called and then he kicks the ball away. So again, that's pretty standard. And I also don't want this to come off like I'm trying to suggest that the officiating had anything to do with the outcome of the game last night. I don't think it did. But I do think based on the physicality of this game from start to finish, the number of fouls called on Portland, at this point, I think they're doubling Austin up, and they don't have yellows. And at one point, it's 5 yellows to none. Yeah. And so this was just the beginning. 50th minute, you get a yellow card to Hector for a challenge on Evander near that Portland bench, which I also I get he did it. It was a foul, but I don't remember other fouls from Hector. And just an escalation by Rivas there as the head official. And I didn't think that part was the discipline. I didn't think was very well officiated, even though I think on the night it was ultimately fine.
It's just the only thing you're looking for out of a referee in a matchup is consistency. How are they actually going to be calling the game consistently throughout the match? Like the physicality. What are you allowed to get away with? When the parameters have been set, then you have this understanding. The foul on Evander in the first half is light. It's a light foul. He goes down easy. I mean, if Danny wasn't in the box on his attempt where he goes down easy, those are very, very similar plays. And then you see this escalation here where it's like, okay, now we're on a 0 tolerance kind of policy. And it's like, all right, well, what happened at halftime? Did somebody call you and you just got you had a bad talk with somebody? It changed, and as a player, that's the last thing you want because you're trying to establish your rhythm and you have to account for refereeing mistakes that they're obviously going to make because they're human beings. But the referee needs to be consistent throughout his time here. And like you said, there was a yellow card party and Portland was not not invited.
And some of that contact that you said, I felt like there was a couple times throughout the second half where there was equal contact to an Austin player and not just no yellow card, but at times no foul at all. And again, it was just once or twice, and maybe it's just the added, the sum of the frustration for me. And of course the players at that point who are actually out there playing the game. But anyways, we'll hit on those as we go. 54th minute here. Brendan Heinzike receives the ball just past midfield and he turns and dribbles. Nobody steps up to stop him. And Heinzike enters the box on the left, opens up for a shot. but sends it over. And man, I don't hate that at all. Go ahead on that one. I didn't think the shot looked poor.
No.
And I turned to you and I said, it's certainly not the worst solo mission we've seen out of an Austin FC center back in our club's short history. I didn't hate it.
No, I did not hate it either. And I wasn't terribly upset with the strike, the contact on that ball. Just, he's a center back for a reason.
Yeah.
But it was a good take. And it's just something that was like, because you have that moment at halftime and it's just backbreaking. And like, obviously Portland now is in control of the momentum. They have the juice going. And, he took it upon himself to try to make a play. And I can't be mad at him for that.
Well, I think 55th minute here, Austin's still really on the front foot through the first 10, 15 minutes of this half. Right here, Biro pops it from the center out to the right for Seba. He plays Danny towards the byline. Then Danny's cross is all the way back to that left post to Biro. Biro heads it back into the blender, and then Owen Wolf gets to it, kind of like a flying redirect attempt, but just can't get any juice on that ball, and it just kind of harmlessly falls. And then the next minute, Austin right back on the attack. But then Seba approaching the area on the right, he hits this little pass back to Danny about 5 yards behind him to his left, and he immediately turns to the bench and does the little substitution signal, get me out of here. Sits down. His night is done. And, of course, in the stadium, it's the boy who cried wolf. We have too many wolves on this team to really use that phrase too much. But, like, we've talked about it before on the show, right, where, like, sometimes he goes down, he looks like he's fucking dead, and then he pops right back up and plays the rest of the game. And obviously that wasn't the case here, but it's very hard for me, especially in the moment, to know the severity of it. So then the way he comes off, and then watching that with close-up camera angles on the replay this morning, I think he's ultimately fine. Coach Wolf did say MRI after the game, but to me that looked like kind of a mild groin strain, which I know, his lower half, he's had soft tissue issues over the last season plus. I just playing podcast doctor here, I think he's out Saturday, and I think there's a good chance he's back in 2 weeks for Colorado, but we'll see. I would just the points that we've banked, we know how tough it was going to be leading up to the summer window. I don't want to see him till he's right, and I know that's how they're going to handle this.
Yeah, if he's not 1,000%, please don't play him. I'm not going into this RSL matchup, which we will get into later, waving any sort of white flag or anything, but understanding the actual situation of what we're walking into, the quality of opponent, the atmosphere, the elevation, all the stuff going on there. So if he's not 100%, 1,000% cleared, ready to go, no, thank you. Don't even risk it. And, we'll see what happens. But yes, it's hard. It's hard to get a read on when he's really hurt or not. And when he's actually in some serious pain. And it was a very frustrating night for him. And this kind of culminates it all. And again, just to the point of the theme of this evening was things are just off tonight. We were late. The PK happened. Things were just really off. And sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah, man. And a flurry of subs follow here. The fact that he walked out under his own power, no assistance from the trainers. I think watching that replay, again, we're playing podcast doctor here, but it looked like he made the most kind of show of it when he was down and maybe delaying a little bit for guys to get another minute or two of warm up before they come in for him. Because when it happens, it's not like he's grabbing at his groin or, covering his face, bending down. He sits down, he's fine. And then the ATs get there, and then ref comes over and he's like, oh no, I can't, it hurts. But then he walks off and he's got a little limp there, right? Grabbing the groin. But for those more serious issues, you can have some assistance and maybe even be carried off sometimes.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, man. Hoping for the best. Not expecting him though.
Yeah. Triple sub on each side here. Paredes, Miller, and Mora in for Chara, Evander, and Asprilla. So again, as bad as it feels, and you're still down 1-0, even without Seba, can you get an equalizer at home? Taking Evander and Asprilla off certainly helps. or, takes the threat level down a little bit from that Portland side. Rubio, Ring, and Fodre in for Seba, Johan, and Hector. That moved Owen back to right back once again. CJ to left wing, and Danny to the 6 as Ring went up to the 8, or the dual 10 as the coaching staff calls it. 65th minute here. Alex tries to play a long lofted ball into Biru, who was making a run to the left of goal near the top of the box. I love the way Biru is able to get up to the offensive end and mix it up. Just as an aside,
everything about him.
I think we're going to see a little bit of that type of positioning from Dessler as well when he gets here on that right side. But that Ring pass, that long ball, is blocked by a Portland defender. And here come the Timbers off on a counter. Anthony gets past Heinz Ike after Evander plays him in on the right. And Heinz Ike kind of slips up, runs through his back, and a penalty correctly given here, as is a yellow, because Stuver was right there. Definitely not a red in my book. But Jonathan Rodriguez comes up, slots it home past Stuver, who guesses wrong, and now 2-0. Now it is looking real bleak.
Yeah, was pretty much resided to the fact that this game was over, 10 out. You have to deal with that mentally, and obviously from the ability to generate good looks. We've seen this team be in the Stone Ages when 10 is not available. So I was not expecting any sort of furious comeback or rally here. Did you bring up how Heinz really screwed this play up, like how he missed his kick?
Yeah, kind of overlooked it a little bit. It was not his best night. Again, kind of 2 in a row there. And maybe being covered up a little bit by the goal last game, and then the flashes of offense in this one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just saying, I just wanted to draw the comparison between when Kamal Miller messes up and they get an opportunity and we don't make the most of it. And we have a situation where Heinz has an error and they were able to get a goal out of it. And just once again, proving it was not our night.
74th minute here. CJ nutmegs, I believe, Eric Miller, I believe, who was out there on the right. And then CJ's called for a foul after he's the one who gets drugged down. And this is where I think Victor Rivas really lost his cool. Not necessarily because he gives the yellow here to Diego Rubio for dissent. I think that's part of it. I think you got to allow the player, given just soccer officiating in general, when you miss a call like this, and a guy who just came on shows some frustration, I guess I'm fine to give him that yellow in the grand scheme of things. But after he gives the card, Rivas literally bows up, chest out, staring Rubio down. And dude, I don't care what sport you're in. That's a no as an official. And I would hope that in the background there, he's getting some sort of a talking to from that. I didn't see it live, but on the replay, man, that's inexcusable. You cannot do that as an official.
I did not see it live, but I did see on the replay as well. And that is just, like you said, absolutely inexcusable and something that escalates things to the point where you really don't want stuff like that, because a player making contact with an official, some sort of altercation like that.
You're making it personal.
You're definitely taking it past the point of being an unbiased observer of this game. And, Diego's a feisty guy, and you do some shit like that, man. You're just asking for more of a situation than it needs to be. This was the worst stretch that he had in this game by far, in my opinion. But I don't want to harp on it too much because I don't think we, obviously did not lose this game because of him. But this was an embarrassing moment for Rivas. Absolutely.
Yeah. 77th minute here. Yellow card party continues to Danny for a challenge on Zuparic. Again, in my notes, it said Rivas just out of hand at this point with the cards.
He was trying to regain it.
I just don't think there's any way it should be 4-0 in terms of yellow cards there. Again, Austin probably deserved more cautions than Portland at that point, but and again, it gets to 5-0 here in a moment. 80th minute. Kolmanich and Finley come in for Biru and O'Brien. 82nd minute, Mora gets loose as Austin is again pushed up, trying to press for even a single goal. 2-on-2 break here with him and Cabecita, and Mora gets in behind for a shot, but Stuver comes up with a save. 85th minute, Moreno and Williamson in for Anthony and Ayala. 87th minute, Rubio receives a pass here in the middle of the Portland penalty area and Zuparic wraps him up and then takes him to ground. Like, he impedes his progress trying to get the ball by holding him, and then he takes him down to the ground. After the way the game was called, and again, I think fairly, with the 2 penalties in the first half and the non-penalty calls, there was another one where Anthony went down about as easy as Danny did in his end. And again, not given there. The fact that this one isn't given after the way it has been called all night, to me, this is a for sure penalty. Does it change the result of this game? Probably not, but it changes the game state for the final 10 minutes here if Austin is able to convert. And again, I think the final 20 minutes or so of this match was very poorly officiated. Again, I'm not suggesting that it affected the actual outcome, but I was disappointed because Victor Rivas is an official that I have some decent memories of. I think he tends to be fairly level-headed and call a good game. And I just think he got outside of himself. Another thing I wanted to ask you, E, and obviously weigh in on the Rubio play as well. What did you think about some of the young guys out there, specifically like Owen? I thought in person and on the replay, he looked exhausted a little bit earlier than you typically see out of him. And then CJ coming in, because again, he had the sweet little nutmeg there, doesn't get the foul call. But me personally, I thought CJ left a lot to be desired for me in his run last night. And again, I was a little bit puzzled. Maybe there's something going on with Owen, some sort of injury that, again, a minor thing. But I thought that was a little bit of a little out of character as well last night. I know he's been playing a ton, but and shout out to all those guys, man, because no matter how many minutes these guys are playing right now, it's all hands on deck with no Gallagher and now no Seba with how shorthanded we are. So I know I'm asking you 16 different questions there, but go ahead.
Don't worry. I kept track in the old brain there. I was keeping track. Clear PK. With Rivas, I think that's the most disappointing thing is that we've seen him be the most composed ref, handling these things properly. And this was just a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of situation where in these last 20 minutes in the game, he loses his composure, as you said it more eloquently than I did. With Owen, I think he is fatigued. I think that even though he's 19, he's been putting in some really heavy shifts. We've been asking him to do play multiple different positions, which requires multiple different responsibilities, multiple different understandings of how you're going to be playing out there at that right back spot, depending on the form that we're in. Obviously, at this stage of the game, we're pushing up. We're trying to get something generated. We're trying to get a goal scored, and he's having to cover a lot of ground. I thought there was a few times in the offensive third when he was up on the wing position where he was sloppy with the ball. Earlier in the season, we had seen plays where he had made some really nice, intricate leading passes to help us generate some chances. But on this night, that was not present. Again, I think the analogy you have with the Danny ceiling being that SKC game, we've seen some ceiling games out of Owen, and this is a bit of a more regression to the mean, as I think the entire team kind of took last night in regard to how disciplined we were, because things really started to get a little hectic and crazy in this game after that PK missed by Seba, which is to be a bit expected. But with CJ, his chances are going to be limited. The moments that he's actually going to be able to get out there and get some quality time is going to be sparse, but he needs to make the most of it. And I don't think that he really did last night. But there's the game had just gotten so strange. The script had changed so much. You have this, second goal by Cabecita here. And it kind of gets the game plan a bit gets thrown out the window. And I think that leaves him pretty susceptible to be pushed back into some of the bad habits that he's been working through with Fcito and things along those nature. But I don't think that he was terrible by any stretch of the word.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I didn't mean to suggest that he was bad. I just didn't think I was impressed overall on the night. And again, that's just the step or two between Next Pro and MLS that he's still working up to, right?
Yeah, he'll get there.
Second minute of stoppage time. I know, sarcastic cheer from me, yellow card shown to Paredes. So 5-1 there on the caution. And then 5th minute of stoppage, Hindsight gets space at the top of the box, rips a shot wide left. We struck that one well, but pretty much the last gasp, 2-0 loss, ending Austin FC's 20-match home streak of scoring at least one goal. So man, we have been close to that a couple times over that 20 match streak, but not a streak that I was aware of, and not one that I like to see end. 63% Austin possession, 15 shots to 8 in favor of the good guys, 3 shots apiece on target, 3 big chances for Austin. Obviously, all 3 of those missed, 3 corners apiece, 2.23 XG for Austin on FOTMob's model to 1.7 for Portland, 2.59 expected goals on target for Austin to 1.83 for Portland, and a 78% field tilt in favor of Austin. So again, the stats match up with the eye test. Austin, probably the better team on the night, but all of those metrics, right? The only one that matters at the end of the day is G, and 2G for Portland, 0G for Austin. And we also get, with those cards, Julio and Johan Valencia remain on yellow card accumulation caution for Saturday. And now we've got Rubio back on caution and Danny on caution. I believe he's picked up 4 yellows in his last 6 matches, if I recall correctly. So your post-game takeaways there.
Tough one. But you got to move on from it. I'm glad there's a quick game coming up here. It was not our night, and it's going to be like that throughout the course of the season every now and then. And again, I'm just satisfied with where this team has positioned itself in the grand scheme of things, and how important those draws, ugly draws on the road, have looked and are looking right now as we continue to sit at 5th place in this table, awaiting reinforcements. Hopefully 10, nothing too serious going on with him. And then, we'll go out there and play the class of the Western Conference coming up here on Saturday. And it's a good litmus test. It's a gauge to see where you're actually at, because with this team, we obviously know the underlying statistics and how it's looked and how they've passed the eye test, despite the fact that there's been some really ugly numbers that has gone into this successful campaign thus far into the season. So it's a good way to gauge where you're really at, understand what you need to be, where you need to be when we move forward to RSL. Portland, again, just one of those teams that's dangerous, man. They have one of the best players in the league in Evander, one of the most dangerous goal scorers in the league in Cabecita. Mascara, they have a good team. And, they did to us what we have been doing to other people. And, we're going to take it on the chin. It's difficult just because there was so much potential. And if you score that first PK, man, I think we blow them out.
I agree,
because they clearly
any of the three big chances,
any of the 3 big chances in the first half, and all of those big chances being assigned to 10 is just something that we have to take and live with the results, because that's where it's going to get our actual goals are going to really be coming from. So it was a frustrating one, but one more time, reason will prevail.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for good.
Reason will prevail.
Reason will prevail.
So just a couple quotes from Coach Wolf. Obviously addressing the questions about the 2 missed penalties in a row now for Seba. He said, we'll talk to the group about it, but Seba's our guy. It's like anything. You have moments where you miss opportunities and you got to get back on the bike. But we'll talk to him. And then he said, I think, kind of similar to what you just said there. I think if you get the goal, the game is what we expect it to be. We're going to have the ball. We're going to push the opponent back. You get rewarded with a penalty. And obviously we hope that Seba scores that. And that would, again, put them in a bad spot 1-0 early into the game and away from home. So, again, I think as expected for me, seems like the team taking a similar approach here where, again, we've banked all these points to start the year. Should we have gotten 3 last night? Probably, yeah. But you still sit, like you mentioned. And I think this is the first time we've been able to really do this after a loss this year, is stay in the same spot we're in the standings because of the parity in this league, because of the work that this team has done. And again, now the margins are even thinner with those spots right below us. But again, now 8 matches until that summer window.
We weren't expecting to run away with anything here.
For sure.
Those margins are going to be thin for the rest of the season until those positions get locked up and we're finally moved into the playoff scenarios. So yes, I feel for the team 100% because this is one that got away from us. And I think I said to you maybe 7 to 28 times last night, there's so many different universes where we win this game, and we're just not happening to be in the one that it's taking place. So I hope the dudes are able to understand how they actually performed in regard to the field tilt, the possession, how we wanted to play this team, the shots, what we generated, and then live with the results, because you have to be able to do that.
Yeah. We really need to get somebody to Photoshop you onto Doctor Strange doing the one chance finger there. Let's go ahead. Let's move into a quick preview for the RSL match on Saturday. We're up over an hour here on episode 147 of the North End podcast. So we'll run through this. I know you are on the match preview this weekend. RSL draw at Seattle last night, literally with 10 seconds left in stoppage time. This team continues to roll. But again, I know you've done a little bit of a deep dive on them here today. So talk to us about Real Salt Lake, the first place team in the West.
Well, they are the real deal.
I imagine that some of the listeners are booing you right now, but I enjoyed that.
Well, that's the preview.
That's it. To summarize.
No, this team is very good. They have been at the top of the Western Conference table for the majority of this season, and it's with good reason. You look at the underlying figures that they have going on for them. I'll pull some of these up here. Second in goals per game, sixth in goals conceded per match, seventh in expected goals, fourth in clean sheets, 45 big chances generated, 5.6 shots on target per game. So, they have supported this record with quality wins, with gutsy draws and points that they've been able to get. I hope everyone has a chance to go back and watch their comeback versus Frisco. It was a week ago now, right? Yeah,
that was on Saturday night. Yeah,
Saturday. So, man, going down 3-0 and then netting that thing up 3-3 at the death to steal a point in Frisco. All those tears streaming down from the stands. It's really enjoyable to watch. It'll pick your mood up today if you're still feeling pretty bummed about last night's performance. But they're led by Chicho Arango, who is one of the best players in the league. I believe he has 17 goal contributions on the season.
Try 21 now.
Yeah, I was going to. Okay. Oh, 21 now.
Yeah, 13 goals, 8 assists, tied for the lead in the Golden Boot race with Benteke.
With Benteke. So he is absolutely at the top of his game right now. We were having a discussion about LAFC getting rid of him for like some salary cap reasons, and then him just falling into RSL's lap and just obviously providing a level of dynamicism, a level of skill and talent that not too many players in this league actually have. So this is a team, they have not lost a game in the entire month of May. 2 losses on the entire season. So you're not going to find any sort of lull or any sort of winless streak on their fixtures right now, because they are just humming. And it's just like they have young guys too all over the field. Andres Gomez, Anderson Julio.
Yeah.
They just have some real potent Diego Luna. They just have guys who can generate their own shot, finish their own shot, are athletic, fast, and they hit you very, very quick when they're coming downhill at you, which they're going to be in the elevation here. We thought potentially that this would be a game where we'd see a bunch of rotation out of Austin if we really went for it last night. And I think that's what it's going to have to be on our side of the ball.
It's wild looking at their fixtures from this season, right? 2 losses, I think you said. Yep. One of those was opening night at Miami, right? So you go down to Messi and friends. There's no shame in that. And then they lose to Colorado at home on March 9th, and no losses in the league since then. It looked like they kind of punted that Open Cup game against New Mexico in terms of the heavy rotation in that one.
Yes.
This is just a buzzsaw, it feels like, that we're walking into here in the elevation on Saturday. I will say, I think that there's a little bit of a benefit for Austin here is that Salt Lake is also playing their 3rd game in 8 days. And they also did not really rotate heavily in the midweek. So, but still walking into a team with a second best in the league plus 13 goal differential that hasn't lost in almost 3 months. Things could be better in terms of our outlook. for this one. But I guess unless you have anything else to add on Salt Lake, we could talk about us, right? Like, I don't think either of us expects Seba to play here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was going to add that, they have that plus 13 goal differential, and McMath has literally given away 3 goals this season just on it. Open net. We're talking the easiest of points that you can score on another team. So it could be even higher than that. They're very good. So let's jump to us. Yes, I don't expect 10. I actually don't even want 10 if he's even kind of on the spectrum of dealing with any sort of issue in that groinal region. Don't want those groin demons popping back up from last season. So I expect him to be rotated. I think you get an Alex start. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a Johan for Danny, and you go those two in the midfield and you try to make the most of it. I think you're going to see, if you're ever going to see the most defensively reliant approach, shell horseshoe tactics, this is absolutely going to be the game, and you're just going to have to hold on for dear life for 90 minutes and hope that you can get some lucky breaks to really be, it. Even if they're rotated, the depth that they have right now, they are dealing with a pretty substantial amount of injuries to a different players here, but there's just so much talent all across the field for this team.
I know they also had like 5 guys, I think, on yellow card caution coming into last night. Looks like Oviedo and Crooks picked up some. I don't have that disciplinary summary pulled up in front of me right now, but maybe one of those guys would be sitting out. Nonetheless, could this be the time that we see the formation change if there's no Seba? Because we did not see that earlier in the year when he missed those first few games to begin the season. But to me, what position do we have the most depth at the moment in the field? To me, it's center back. With those 4 guys healthy, can we run out 3 center backs and run the box midfield? And again, alleviate some of the pressure on that right back position, because if that's now a right wing back, maybe you can even get away with Hodder Obrion playing that position. That could also be a spot, I think, where Ethan Finley could do. Again, I don't expect us to be high flying no matter who is playing on Saturday, but maybe we see that. Like, that's something that if I'm playing Football Manager, maybe I'm doing something like that. We just haven't seen it this year. We really haven't seen it since like this time last year when there was no Seba. So what do you think there?
I think I really like that approach. I think I'm going to steal it for the article here.
Okay.
Because like you said, right now,
edit after the pod.
I was curious about the deal with Hedges last night. I thought that there would absolutely be some time there to get him rotated in for one of those guys. Heinz Eichmann putting in tons of minutes. Leo obviously has been dealing with different injuries to varying degrees. So I think that might be our best chance at going out there and getting an ugly draw versus this team. So especially if you're going to be putting in that Alex and Johan situation, you can try to run that box midfield just to give those guys more opportunities to get the ball, progress forward without having to dribble it too much. You know what I mean? Without having to break some lines through, like an offensive duel. So I like that, and I think that could potentially alleviate some of the responsibilities that we're asking of guys like Hector, of guys like Owen. Johnny G's status is actually pretty interesting to me.
Maybe he can go.
That could be a big boost for us here if he's actually ready to go. But again, I would proceed with the most caution with him as well. If he's not 100%, then this is not the game to try to run him out there. And get
bye
him
week
right.
coming up.
Yeah, we have some time off coming up. So I like that approach, man. You're going to have to get, like, I talked about the limitations of getting creative with the lineup, but if you can go formationally and change some things up and try to hit them, because they know we're going to come out and be ultra defensive, try to just get the ball out of our zone, limit their touches inside of our box, and hope Stuver can do the best with what's thrown at him. But they're probably going to throw a lot at him. And if you can mitigate some of that with a more stout kind of defensive unit there that can get some blocks and deflections, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like 3 of those center backs at the back, Finley right wing back, Biru left wing back if he's fit enough to start. Then in that box midfield, Danny, Johan at the back, Alex and Diego up top with Giassi in front of them at the striker. I think that's how I would run it out. But again, that's why I'm sitting here recording a podcast on a Thursday afternoon and not game planning for Saturday's match. Anything else for you on this one?
No.
All right. Let's see how you're going to stretch this one. I'll ask you as I always do. How much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday? Or is this the first time you predict a draw or loss on the North End podcast?
I'm going to let you go first. Give me a barometer of how shitty you feel about this.
Okay. So I actually, and again, I feel like I've kind of been a Scrooge with my predictions over the last month or two, but I've got a loss here, but 1-0 and late. I think it's going to be a kind of a letdown here after getting our hopes up that we can scrap out a point. Because I expect this team to be able to bounce back mentally, because we've seen that the entire year. And I think they can kind of, for lack of a better term, like band together here with potentially no Driussi, and put on that kind of ultra defensive performance that we have seen time and time again out of this team. I just think ultimately going up into the elevation on the short week against a team as talented as this, I do think RSO breaks through eventually, but I think we're going to, again, I think the context that will be provided from this 90 minutes is going to reinforce our belief in this team, their scrappy nature, and the success that we've seen in the first half of the season. And this is the half season mark. Once the final whistle blows this Saturday, we will be 17 matches in. And man, if we can scrap a point out here, I would be feeling great. All right. So what have you been cooking up? What do you got?
Very well said. And what you said there actually made me go back to their last two results, right? They have been kind of asleep at the wheel. Yeah. And, there's a couple ways to take that and look at it from different perspectives where it's like, well, they've kept fighting until the end of the match. And it's been, they've stayed to the course and all of those things. But also, if you're down 3-0 in the second half, and I don't even know when they scored their first goal in that Dallas matchup, your chances to win are not great. The Doctor Strange, this universe is the only universe you can get a point in, is absolutely coming into play. So I kind of like that. And I'm going to go ahead and say 1-1 because I'm going to have somebody step up and get a point here, get a goal here in the absence of 10. So it's not a loss, but reason will prevail. So I can't go into this too excited about potentially getting 3 points here, but give me a Diego goal. This is a matchup that he's quite familiar with, and we could use one, and he's due for sure.
Reason will prevail.
Reason will prevail. All righty, let's talk. Actually, before we get to last business day, we got to check in on
the best keeper in the world.
Damian Loss in action last night. Louisville City and Detroit City FC. We walked into the stadium. He had the little notification pop up on the phone. 1-1 at the half. Damian was in net. And then the final score, 5-1 Louisville. Damian plays all 90 minutes. 4 saves, 1 goal conceded, 2 punches, 4 throws, 7 recoveries. Damian doing his thing. Another 3 points there for Louisville City. They now sit on 26 points from their 11 matches played, plus 23 goal differential. That's a good team.
That's a very good team. Great keeper, too.
Yeah, best keeper in the world. Let's talk last business day here real quick. We've got the first and second team doubleheader here this weekend, 4 p.m. Central out there in Utah. FCito taking on Real Monarchs. And the Monarchs here this season, poor. Again, Austin FC 2 has not had a great start to their regular season, just 10 points from their 9 matches played. Real Monarchs, 8 points from their 10 matches played, and losers of 4 straight. This is a team, again, a lot of turnover on their roster compared to what I remember from last season. They do have Noel Caliscan, who was with Timbers 2 last year, and one of their top players, I believe, got some first team minutes with the Timbers last year in a shorthanded scenario. He leads Real Monarchs in assists right now, again, with just 2, because this team, again, only scored 10 goals in their 10 matches played. Austin FC 2, 10 goals from their 9 matches, so they're not that far behind us in terms of their output. But I think this is another game that we should be able to go out on a full week's rest, and a little bit more than a full week, right? Last Friday to this Sunday in terms of the break between matches. I expect a result here.
I think I'm on board with you. This is not a very good club that we're matched up against, and this is a potential get-right spot for a team that has been frustrated, as Austin FC has been. There he is.
Frustrated too.
So I think this is a potential get-right game for them, absolutely, and they need it, man. You know, we've had some really difficult results this season, and an opportunity to go play an inferior team. Got to get the job done, though.
Yep. I agree. So we can go ahead and just wrap it here. Score predictions. I'll keep it up on this episode. I'll go first. I'm going to go 0-0 draw, but a second PK shootout win on the season for FC bringing home 2 points. What do you got here in terms of a prediction for FC2?
I got a dog drinking a bunch of water right now, but I'll go ahead and say that we're going to win this game 2-0. Like you said, this is not a quality opponent. I think we can get the job done. We have the talent up front, man, like Jimmy, Sebas. There's chances to be had, chances to be capitalized on. So go ahead, get it done, boys, and potentially avenge us.
Yeah, potentially avenge us. Going back to those 2023 vibes, we would take the win no matter how we get it, boys. And to close out last business day, shout out to Bobo, another call up for the Ugandan national team. So to be honest, I don't recall off the top of my head what those dates were. I don't know if he's leaving before this match or not, but congrats. Nonetheless, you love to see it. The nonsense here on this episode have not tallied the best ball scores from the midweek quite yet, but we did have the scores posted late yesterday from the Saturday games this past Saturday. Moon Tower, 50 points on the week. They get the win. They vault themselves back up into podium consideration, now just 2 points behind We Are Austin TV in third, who is just 1 point behind Verde All Day in second. The Verde Pendant has a 59-point lead on the field right now, and Texas Ring of Fire makes up 7 points on us in the spoon race, so just 9 points separating the North End and Texas Ring of Fire in the spoon race. I did peek at some of the individual fantasy scores last night. I think we're going to have a decent week once all is said and done for those midweek games, but we'll have 2 weeks of best ball to talk about on Sunday's episode, and we will have 2 weeks of bets, because I can tell you right now, the midweek bets to this point went pretty terribly, but San Jose NYCFC, we have some San Jose goal bets in for Espinoza and Lopez, and those are fairly high odds, so potentially a different tune come Sunday. But you can also get the Week 17 MLS picks Friday night after that official injury report drops from the MLS. So you can find that at the northendpodcast.com, along with E's match preview for this weekend and access to our roster and salary cap spreadsheets, which are updated for the Usman Bukari acquisition. E, anything else for you before we get out of here on episode 147 of the North End Podcast?
No, sir. Be well, y'all.
All right. I got one thing to add, I think for the 5th time.
Reason will prevail.
Reason will prevail.
Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We will do the same. We will see you back here on Sunday for another edition of the North End Podcast, recapping the entire franchise's trip out to Utah and talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Let's go, boys. Get a point, maybe 3 here on Saturday. Till Sunday, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.